should come with me, completely off topic. Oh, ain't it nice to be completely off topic?
Hi, welcome back to Completely Off Topic with Susan Serrao, where we talk to Calgary-based female artists who are creating their own bodies of work. Today we have with us Sara Simpson. I got it right. Yay, Sarah.
Gold star. Yeah.
Who is, the way I know you is you are an improviser in Calgary, but you also travel around with it. Mm-hmm. And recently you traveled to Sri Lanka.
I did.
Yes.
I did. I just got back. I'm very jet lagged.
I would love to hear about that in your jet lagged manner.
Well, I think the important thing now is that it's a 12 and a half hour difference.
Whew.
So it's like exactly opposite.
Oh, well, actually, I'm
your body
better
clock.
at night. So does that help me?
If we should send you should have
I'm a
gone,
night owl.
and then
Yeah.
we'd know. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was absolutely amazing. Like I've never been to that part of the world, and I got to go with friends that are like so close that she's my sister basically. And so it was absolutely brilliant to get to go with people who speak the language, know all the people, and I've got like all these stupid food allergies. So they made sure that I could eat everything. And I didn't get sick once the entire time I was there. In 15 days, like I don't go 15 days at home without getting ill because of potato starch being in frickin'
everything.
Subway. Did you know that ham,
Oh my God.
you don't because you're vegan, but ham now often has potato starch in it because
Why?
it's like to hold it together because they took it apart. They deconstructed the pig to the point where they need some potato starch to put it back together again. So you can
Why
have it in
would
a
you do
sandwich.
that? Why do we need to deconstruct the meat so much that you have to put it back together again? I feel like we're just going to actually break it down and take it apart again.
Me particularly. Yeah. it's
In
bad.
a very effective way. No, ineffective.
But like even the airplane food, I was okay. I didn't get sick from anything, which is so unusual for me. And I felt so loved because people like taking care of all my allergies, and to the point where I'm in Sri Lanka, we're staying in an apartment, but like friends and family are cooking for us every day. So every day there's like some brilliant new curry that like I can never eat curry out because it's full of onions and I can't have onions. And so here they are making onion-free curry that I can eat, and I can try all these super cool things that if I traveled on my own, there's no way. Like
And to explain that in a foreign language is like impossible.
no way. Yeah, it's very hard. And even just traveling in Europe, like I remember going, being in Europe on my disastrous honeymoon to my first marriage. We went to Europe for...
Isn't that like a symbol though? My honeymoon, I'll
Was
tell
it
you
brutal?
after. My honeymoon, like I had bed bugs. We got actually drugged at one of the restaurants. We went home, as we're walking home, we're like, what is happening to us? Like literally everything was moving, and we were sick all night on our last night of our honeymoon.
Oh,
and I was like,
no.
it's fine, we're gonna be fine. And we're divorced now. So
We went to Europe for 2.5 months.
Wow.
Because like I was supposed to go on a trip around, Europe, gap year kind of thing. So I finished high school, me and my best friend, he and I were both gonna go on this gap year trip. And for complicated religious-based reasons, he wasn't allowed to go in the end. So I'd saved up all my money, was ready to go. And I was like, am I gonna go by myself? I was always gonna go with my friend. In the end, I just didn't go.
Aww.
And so when I got married incredibly young at age like 21, it was like, let's go to Europe for our honeymoon.
Yeah.
And so my then husband, he actually sold his condo and used that to like fund this trip.
Holy
which
jeez.
in hindsight is really stupid.
That's not a good
And
investment. I mean, culturally and life experience-wise, but financially, no.
Yeah, and the resentment level, like it was his idea, but still, like it was not a good idea. And in the end, he ended up, his grandma, gave him a few tens of thousands of dollars that kind of balanced it all out.
That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got it, right?
Yeah.
I guess
Oh, yeah.
My grandma was not able to pitch in to that degree, but at any rate, so we ended up in Europe. And you get homesick for stupid stuff when you're in Europe and you're 21 and newly married to someone that you should never, ever have married.
21, like how long were you guys together before you got married?
I met him when I was 16.
Okay.
And he would have been 19. And we were just friends. And then we started dating when I was 18 for like just under 9 months. He ghosted me on like Halloween. And
That wasn't even a thing. You couldn't even ghost back then.
You can.
Ghosted
you
you
can.
on
And he did.
Halloween?
No, he stood me up. He stood me up on Halloween, and then he finally kind of turned up the next day. And so I ended up totally like driving by his house, his parents' house and stuff like that. So I'm like, we were supposed to hang out. Like, I went and bought candy because I'm going to have to be, or no, because we were supposed to go out. And then I had to go buy candy because I ended up being inside when I wasn't going to be inside.
And you can't be egged. Yeah.
But they were sold out, blah, blah, blah. At any rate. And then the next day he broke up with me because it's not like we were in love and going to get married and stuff. And I was like, I was 18.
Is that why people break up? Is because you're not going to get married?
It never occurred to me that we would get married. I'm 18 years old. I'm like, well, yeah, no, I agree. That is not what's happening here.
Yeah.
And so when he broke up with me being just the kind of person I am, I like to roll with things. And so, it's the improviser thing. I just roll with what's happening.
Yeah.
I just totally accepted. I said yes and did his breakup. I was like, yes, and I totally agree that we're not getting married. And so we broke up, and I was like, yes, this is good. And even when we started dating, it's like we have this great friendship. Should we even date? And the answer is no. Like, we are still great friends. We never should have dated. We have a great friendship. Now we also have children and a divorce.
So you're even closer.
But we're, we are good friends.
Yeah.
That I could never live with him again. But at any rate, so we're in Europe, homesick, and so we go to McDonald's. We're in France somewhere. So we go to McDonald's.
Yeah.
And they've got like the, whatever it is, the Royale with cheese or whatever's going on. And so I go to the counter and I'm trying to say that I want a Big Mac with no onions.
Right.
Or whatever it was.
Yeah.
No onions. And so I look up the French word, because this is in like the year 2000.
So you didn't do Google Translate.
There's no cell phone happening or anything like that. And so I've like written in French, like I've looked up onions and I'm like, N-O-N, cerbellas or whatever they are. And I show that to the thing and they're like, what? Because I'm handing them a piece of paper that's like, no onions.
You're like, no. It's like, it looks like one of those robbery notes, but you're like, no onions.
Exactly. And then I ended up drawing onions. Like I drew the onions and they just looked at me like I was nuts. And you've always heard, that French people have a disdain for people who don't speak French.
Yes, of course. Or speak Canadian French badly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I was all of those things. And so when I got my burger and I opened it up, it was like the bun, the meat, and onions. It was just onions. And just like, this girl's obsessed with onions.
Yeah,
she draws them. She writes it down.
Yeah.
Like she's...
Can I just have an onion on a piece of bread?
So that's how that can go when I go on trips. So this was absolutely brilliant.
Did you eat it?
Probably. I probably scrape them off, just kind of.
And the remnants are fine, but the actual onion you can't have.
Oh, nothing about it was fine.
Okay.
Because it was, one, was super gross, and two, like it's all about sauces at McDonald's.
Yeah. Yes.
And the other thing is I was still in denial about not being able to have potatoes, so I got it with a side of fries. And so, and I can't, like I'm super allergic to potatoes. And so that kind of negated any.
That's terrible. That actually is the saddest thing ever, is potatoes are, I've recently discovered they are my first love. I love potatoes in every way you can possibly make them. They're so good. I eat them raw.
Yeah,
my
tell me
friend
more about
thinks
how
it's
great they
gross.
are.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, they're so good. And now you're a little bit of salt, and they're crunchy like an apple, and they're delicious and filling.
My mom would always have, like when she's peeling potatoes, she'll always eat a bit of raw potato.
Yeah. And so my ex would be like, oh my God, you can't do that. You're gonna get worms.
You're
I'm like,
revolting. Worms from potatoes? Like, I'm sorry. Like,
how? I'm like, it's gonna create worms in my stomach after I've chewed it and broken it apart. And yeah, he was convinced. And so I would like eat it in front of him and be like, raw potato. Ooh, the worms. So now my kids eat raw potatoes too. And I'm like, you got to do it at your dad's house just to freak him out.
Yeah, that kind of great triangulation you can do to really heighten their stress.
Just,
My kids also love potatoes. I can't even cook them in the house anymore. Like I would still cook them.
Yeah.
But now, like I'll get sick if we're making Thanksgiving dinner and I cook potatoes on the same stove next to other things, I will get sick. And so now for like, red letter days for high festivals, my mom or my sister will cook potatoes at their house and bring them, and then we'll serve them separately.
And that's fine.
Yeah, and then the kids will be having some, and they'll be having like some, I don't know, green beans, and then they're like putting them on their plate and like touching the spoon to their potatoes, and I'm like, no, like don't. We went to all this work. Don't
cross-contaminate. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they know. Your kids should know.
I mean, they're fine. I'm just always like, what? Careful.
Yeah.
And they love it.
Yeah.
It's great. so we're in Sri Lanka, and we went and stayed a couple of days at this glorious resort because I was there for a wedding. And so Sri Lankan weddings, there's 2 days. And so you have a wedding, and then they have this little mini honeymoon. And so we all went together on the mini honeymoon.
You go with them?
Well, no, I wasn't sure if that was a cultural thing or not. but it was because basically my friend, my friend and her family, they're all Canadian, they live here. But they came from Sri Lanka when she was, when the kids were like 5 and 10 years old. Okay. And so my friend's my age, so she's been here for like almost 20 years. But her son was getting married, and they went back to Sri Lanka because that's where the bride lives, and to be able to have the wedding with all their friends and family. So
is the couple gonna stay in Sri Lanka?
No. They're coming here. They live here. For her, she couldn't come yet because they've been for a year now. They've been working on all the paperwork, and so she's gonna have to come on a travel visa, and so hopefully that'll get approved by December. Like, we're hoping she'll be here for Christmas.
Yeah.
And so totally wild, because a year ago they went and had the engagement ceremonies, because there's a whole thing about the engagement where you have a party and there's all these exchanging of rings and stuff that happens.
Is it a lot different than our engagement parties?
Yeah.
I would assume so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because our engagement, when I got engaged,
just
the first time, everyone got together, some
yeah,
drinks, some
and
food.
maybe presents.
Yeah, some pictures.
Yeah.
And then when John and I got engaged, we didn't. We took everyone to the Banff Springs for brunch. For our
Holy
engagement party.
jeez.
I mean, not everyone, like our family and a couple of friends.
Yeah.
But I know that was John's posh background.
Yes. Okay.
To him, he was like, "Oh, we should do this," and I was like, "Fill your boots, I'll come."
Let's sell another condo, and we'll do it.
Different husband. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But same mistake.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, so basically, what am I saying? So the tradition is that they go for a so you have the engagement party, and then a year later, now we are here, we're all going for the wedding. So it's like his immediate family, we're like family. We came to my daughter's, the maid of honor for, it's funny, she's being maid of honor for someone she's never met in real life before.
Oh, wow.
But they wanted her to be the maid of honor because it was so special that she's coming, and for all these other, and then she's paired up with the best man, who is, so there's the groom, and then the groom's younger brother is his best man, and my daughter and the best man are very, very good friends. Because our kids have grown up together. They're like cousins, very, very close.
Yeah.
And so, she's maid of honor. And then Emerson, my younger son, he's coming too. And so he was in the wedding party as well. So
I
very,
saw
very
pictures
cool.
of him.
Yes. Aren't they amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, super, super cute.
Yeah.
And so those photos you saw, that photo shoot happened at 6 a.m. before the ceremony. But there was something I was going to say about all that.
Honeymoon.
Oh, the honeymoon. And so you have on the 26th, on the Thursday, you have the wedding.
Yeah.
And so the wedding's hosted by the bride's family. And it's like, you come in, full on ceremony. There's like ceremonial dancers and drummers and like all this super, super, super cool stuff.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. And completely different, and all in another language. And my son's like, this is so long. Because when you don't, like if I went to a Canadian wedding, but I didn't, it was in a different language, I would still recognize all the, you may kiss the bride and the exchange of rings and all that stuff. But this is a completely different ceremony. So I don't know what's happening. So that's really interesting to watch.
Background of why it's happening. Yeah.
And so there's a priest, like a Buddhist priest, and he's singing all this stuff. The bride and groom don't say a word. They don't say their vows. Like, they wrote vows, but the priest says them.
Okay.
They don't say them. They never say yes or no or anything. They don't say anything.
Yeah.
During the whole ceremony. But there's like this cool part where there's all these leaves involved, and so there's like all these leaves, like kind of like the plant behind you. There's these tropical leaves with coins on them, and so there's a lot of picking up of the leaves and the coins, and then setting them down and offering them to different people, and like, here's one for grandma, and here's one to set down, and like there's all this stuff happening. And then
it's after, like maybe an offering of like fortune or
who knows,
abundance of
something,
and
all coins, and normally with rupees you're only using bills, like you don't use coins, because like a $100 rupee note is worth like 50 cents, right? It's kind of like pesos. There's a big number difference, but so then you have so you have the ceremony, and then you have a party, and like the banquet, all that kind of stuff, much more familiar. There's wine, there's booze, there's all kinds of stuff. And then we left for this like gorgeous resort in Negumbo on the coast for 2 days, which is the honeymoon. And as I'm sitting in the infinity pool with my friend Trisha, and I'm like, hey, so does the family always go on the honeymoon? Because it is very much like in that culture, like when you get married, the bride moves in with the groom's family, you're all living together, that kind of thing, which is what they're doing until they get their own place.
Yeah.
And but most people, you just live forever in that household.
Okay.
And so to me, it's not a stretch that you would have the honeymoon together because she's joining the family. We're all going here. And then when you have the second day of the wedding, is called the homecoming. And it's when she comes, and she's coming now as part of the groom's family in a way. And then you have the groom's family host the second party. So there's 2 receptions, right?
That sounds fun.
Oh, it was super fun. It was glorious.
Yeah.
But and so she... So I'm saying, do you always, have your whole family come on the honeymoon with you? And she's like, oh, no. She's like, I just didn't feel they'd be safe otherwise. I thought we better come. So there we are. So it's like table for 8 each time we're having all our meals and everything. And they did. The staff was like, oh, hey, they're on their honeymoon, aren't they? And I'm like, yeah, they are. And she says, can we can do a special candlelit dinner on the beach for them.
Oh,
it's
nice.
like, oh, that sounds lovely. And so they were going to do that. And that night it poured rain.
Oh, no.
So they put a little table like kind of outside the restaurant under the overhang, right where everyone comes in and out.
Oh, no.
They didn't mind. They were delighted with everything. But yeah.
There's such a pressure with honeymoons to be like so perfect and like a fairy tale and like wonderful everything, right? Like there's so much, it's like more pressure than just a holiday, right?
Well, I guess, I mean, I don't know that I've had 2 honeymoon experiences.
Yes.
Neither of them were like, I hadn't put a lot of stock in them. I guess it's a good thing because they were kind of weird.
Yeah. We did my ex is from England. And so we got married here in Calgary. Yeah. And a bunch of his family came over. Yeah. And it was nice because his dad got to see the way that we live and the way, because it is different than England.
It is, because my current and best husband is from the UK.
Best husband.
And so
there might be another one, but he's going to be the best.
Top 2.
Yeah.
So same thing, like just there's different traditions and it's good to see how that all
even
works.
Restaurants are different, right?
Oh yeah, with tipping and with like
and the
they
food
just
and
call for the bill. They're
and...
just like, I need the bill. And it's like, if you
Well, yeah,
you just either try and make eye contact or you just wait till they come. You just don't know if you're late, whatever, they're coming back. Just wait.
Yeah, so different. So anyhow, he was actually really happy to see my family and the way that Peter would be integrated into Canada. And he felt like, okay, he's going to be fine. He's going to be loved. Right. And all of this. But he said to Peter, he's like, watch your portion sizes. They feed you too much here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So anyhow, but then after that, we went back to England and we had a party with his dad's family, like that side of the family. And then we had a party with his mom's side of the family.
Children of divorce, yeah.
Yes, and theirs was like, I think Peter's parents divorced when he was 3, and it was very traumatic.
Oh, man.
Yeah, and his dad was a milkman, so like didn't really know how to take care of the kids, but had the kids. And so just a lot of trauma around that.
Yeah.
But I mean, his stepmom's fantastic, and I get along really great with her. So and his mom's lovely too.
My ex-in-laws, I get along with really well. I call them my outlaws, but they're always like, "Are you sure you couldn't just come back soon?" I'm like, well, I'm here now. But yeah, like we have dinners together. And all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
Like with so John comes too. Like there's my current husband and my ex-husband and my ex-husband's family, and we're all having dinner.
I love that. Like that's actually what I was hoping for.
It takes some time to get there.
Yeah? Like how many decades?
Well, I'm on 1.5 decades.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long before you got there?
We worked really hard at it. Worked with Mediator, all kinds of stuff. But I think to their faces always, very pleasant. But I think, within 3 years.
Okay.
It was pretty good.
So we're separated about 7-8 years.
Oh, okay.
No. Divorced.
Not for everyone.
As well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that was always my goal because I was like, I actually I love you as a person.
Yes, I would love to be able to have Christmases together and just, because for the kids, you're always missing someone. Like, no matter what, there's someone important is always missing.
Yeah.
And that sucks.
And it's different. Like, they have a different energy around each of us because our houses are different.
Totally. And your rules are different and your vibe is different. Like, it took me a while to realize a couple of years ago, my kids are basically like, you're not fun or funny. And I was like, what?
You are fun and funny.
I know.
Yeah. You're so fun and funny, but you probably had to be like, I'm your mom and I have to figure out all of your life.
Well, and I had to balance, like, I'm the one who keeps track of the doctor's appointments and the this and the that and the IPP, like all this stuff. That I'm
Signs
that
all the
parent.
forms, pays all the fees.
Yes. And he's the fun parent. He does the cool stuff.
Yeah. Let's watch movies. Let's play
video
games. Let's play guitar.
And we can, we'll get to school when we get there and that kind of stuff. Which
is more stressful on the mom, because then
totally, because they're late and you're
to
getting messages from the school and they're like, they really, they're missing the weather bear every single morning. They'll never learn how to be in society.
Yeah.
Because they missed the beginning.
They need to sing "O Canada"
and
every morning.
I have no control over that. Like and he means well. He just is not a timely person. And that's, we're all different, right?
Yeah.
And if you're both together, one of you would make it happen. But when fully half the time you're late, through no malice, like he's trying.
Yeah.
It's hard, and he's single parenting 3 kids and trying to get them out the door and all that kind of stuff too. And we all have our different skill sets, right? Like,
he's
when
you
good at
separate,
different
it's like
things
half
than
your
me.
skill sets are gone because that other person did all of this stuff.
Like he takes the kids to the pool. Like I never had to take the kids to the pool. I like swimming. I hate the chlorine and the change rooms I hate it. And so he would always take the kids to the pool. And that would be a thing he still did. My kids want to go to the pool. I'm like, oh no. But fortunately, my second husband, John, he loves taking the kids to the pool, to him.
Oh, look at you. Was that on the dating app? You were like, must take kids to pool? Yeah. Where did you guys meet?
John and I?
Yeah.
Oh, through the magic of the internet. We met on Plenty of Fish. Do you remember Plenty of Fish?
I was not dating during Plenty of Fish, but I remember this woman telling me, she's like, I met my boyfriend on Plenty of Fish. Don't tell him.
Yes.
I met a lot of people on Plenty of Fish. And I was like, I think that's okay
too.
now. Like it's not like 20 years ago where people would be like, how could you do that? Like see
I remember
all
the
of these men.
time, like working at the spa and someone's getting married. I'm like, oh, how did you meet? And she's like, online. And I was like, oh my God, your marriage is doomed. And then, 10 years later, that was me.
Yeah.
And I did, it's a long story why I was on there in the first place, but I did not expect, like I was just looking for a distraction. I was only on there because that's my previous second best husband was cheating on me on Plenty of Fish. And so a friend created an anonymous profile so they could be like, I'm so sorry, but you have to go look at this. Your husband's on Plenty of Fish. And I was like, no, there's no way, not true. You know? And then I'm like, but I went and looked.
Yeah, my ex was on Tinder.
Isn't
that crazy?
Yes.
And it was like for validation. He wanted to know he was still attracted to other people. And I'm like, I don't know if I believe that fully. Like,
well, and that was the thing is when I saw this, like right away, because I'm very calculated and pragmatic. And so I went into my super private investigator mode. And so I saw that, but instead of confronting him, I was like, well, I won't find out much if I confront him because he'll just say, oh,
my friend put me on, whatever,
But right away, like I believe the best of people. And so right away I'm like, oh, it's probably that, I know his friends dating on there and he probably just wanted to show a profile. So he probably had to create one so that he could see the thing. Like I'm creating
You're making a whole story.
Totally. I'm making all these things. And I'm totally thinking of the Pina Colada song, the where
Pina Colada.
Getting caught in the rain.
Yeah.
Because it's all about two people dissatisfied in their relationship and they each put out a personal ad and then they go. And
so did you make a profile for him?
Yes.
You did?
Yes, I did. So
and did you like him? Or I don't know how Plenty of Fish works. Is it liking or what?
So this is like, I was a freelancer. I'm working from home. I have one of my contacts is ripped. So I've got I'm like this on the computer.
Sign.
Yeah. My kids are at his parents' house with the nanny because they got us a nanny, but not at our house. They got us a nanny at their house. So I had to drive my kids.
We need control.
Half an hour to their ranch every day to drop off my kids. And
this is so helpful. Thank you so
wrong.
much.
But anyway, we have a great relationship. I get them a Christmas gift every year. Actually, they get me a Christmas gift every year. It's always pajamas in a way too big size. But I've grown into them over the years.
I feel like I see what you want me to achieve and I will reach that goal.
I did, yeah. You bought me an extra large jacket. Thank you.
Thank you.
It fits now. But yeah, and so I've got my ripped contact and I create a profile. So I get a stock image that I can crop in to get the watermark out. Sorry, iStock photo. And I make a profile and heartbreakingly, I make the profile like as much like me without being recognizable because of course that's what he would be looking for is someone just like me because I'm so naive. And his profile, it's got this really cute picture of him. It says he's single. It says he has no kids. And I'm just like,
sleazy. So
like,
sleazy.
what are you, like that
Is that what you want?
Well, it's just like,
Is that what you want to be?
You're going to, yeah. And like, what kind of, it's not like you're looking for a new relationship.
No, you're looking for a hookup for sure.
Yeah, because, you're saying you have no kids and you do. They're at your parents'
and it's
right
going to
now.
be quite obvious. Like you can't hide the kids for very long.
Yeah, I can. I've got stretch marks,
but you could just say,
just
fluctuations.
It's a really big dinner. But so there I am seeing him. I create the profile. And you have to make it look real. So of course, as soon as you go on there as a woman, because of course I made the profile single and without kids, you get a million messages right away. Just
yes.
All of a sudden, everyone's DMing you and they're sending you roses on Plenty of Fish. You could send someone a rose. Like I think you got a limited amount or something like that.
Yeah.
And so so I start
really
messaging people. Yeah.
You got a rose.
Yeah.
It's like Bachelor probably got that from there.
Oh my God. Or maybe the other way around. But yeah, and so they're sending so I start messaging people to make it look like a real profile.
Yeah.
And
to make it look like they're gonna see. Could they see if you were messaging people?
Well, I thought the algorithms, it has to look real. If you just go in for this one person, maybe they get lots of soon-to-be ex-wives on there. I don't know. At any rate, I chatted with a bunch of guys that day, and it was quite a confidence boost. And so I did that. And then I went and then finally I messaged him and was just like, hey, whatever it is you say to your husband on Plenty of Fish.
Hey, you remind me of a guy I used to date.
And within 2 hours, he replied.
Yeah.
He replied to me. And he's chatting to me. I don't remember because I was just like,
but he was like being like smooth.
Yeah. So
and
he was like willing, like it's like, hey, you want to meet up, kind of a thing. And so I'm like, oh snap! Like so now, like
he is meeting up with people. This is not just.
It's not just a whatever. Like he replied within 2 hours.
Yeah.
And and so I was like, ooh. So I talked to him a bit more. Talked to a few other people, and then I waited till he got home. Because
did you say, oh my God, I made a profile on Plenty of Fish and I met all these guys. It was quite a confidence boost. You should try it.
Oh my God. Because he was always accusing me of cheating on him. He was always super. And I mean, I am just not hardwired that way. Like I never in a million years, I just was not interested in
I'm
cheating.
the same.
Too much stress, too much like just practically speaking, aside from the morality of being in what you've agreed to be in a monogamous relationship.
Yeah.
But it's because he wanted to so much that he was so, obsessed with it, right?
Yeah, my ex was very jealous. Yeah. And so I was like, why are you so jealous?
I know. And it turns out it's,
Yeah.
But so when he got home that evening, I was just like, of course, we're figuring out who's going to pick up the kids. I'm like, why don't you come here and we'll just go pick up the kids together, kind of a thing.
Oh man, you had the conversation on the way to pick up the kids?
No,
Okay.
in the house. So he came, but I just wanted him to come home instead of go pick up the kids because I wanted to talk to him without the kids around. And the kids are 2 and 4. 2 and 4. Yeah, Jesus is right. Oh. And so, like Emerson just turned 2. And so there we are having this conversation where I'm like, hey, so I know what's up. How about, I'm kind of like, hey, is there anything you want to tell me?
Yeah.
Because again, I'm not showing my cards. And so I'm like, anything you want to tell me about? And he's like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, because
have you been fishing?
Because I'm just like, well, I didn't even say that. I was just like, so I learned some things today that were pretty interesting. And I was just like, you going to tell me about them? Because it's going to go way worse for you if you don't just come clean.
Yeah.
And he blustered or whatever. And after like 2 hours, he was like, because I'm like a stern investigator and interrogator.
Ooh.
And finally, he's just like, fine. And then he confessed to like something completely different.
No.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So,
oh my goodness.
So he confessed to having been on a date in the last couple days. So he confessed to how like he didn't mention Plenty of Fish at all. He was just like, he's like, yes, I went on a date with this woman and she didn't even want to have sex with me. So, and he turned it into this thing like I should feel sorry for him that his self-esteem is so shattered that he went on this date and this woman didn't even want to sleep with him.
Do you know who does want to sleep with you?
Up until a minute ago?
Yeah, up until and up until today? Me. How about that?
Yeah, it was just like, and then when so this, carried on throughout the evening, of course, this became
Girls, you can sense that when you go on a date with somebody and you're like, this is not I'm not sleeping with you because this is not okay.
Who knows what this woman thought. But yeah, like, so maybe she saw the car seats in the back seat of his truck or something. Something tipped her off. But me looking in the window, no, I had no idea. And I had not, like, I like to think I would pick up on this stuff. I had not picked up on anything. It's totally blindsided me. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And so,
you're in the thick of it with a 2 and a 4-year-old.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
there's a
and we're
lot
both
going
working,
on.
and I had postpartum depression. Like, it was all a bad time. But so lots of other stuff going on. But there I was. He's confessed to going on this date, and then I'm like, well, what the,
Yeah.
But it wasn't even like that was necessarily a deal breaker or anything. Like, you think you know what you won't tolerate until you're actually in it, and then you're like, actually, you can tolerate quite a lot.
Yeah.
Because it never occurred to me to get divorced. Like, the way I was raised, it's like, you get married, it's over.
It's
never
for life.
even occurred to me.
That's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, which is bonkers. Like, I should have. Like, it probably would have been better like, when he left me, it was what I call a severe mercy, because I never would have done it, never occurred to me to do it, but I'm so thankful and relieved that he did, that he had the courage to say we're done. Because we were so much better off without each other. Like, we were a bad combination. We just did not mix.
Yeah.
And everybody, apart from how hard it was for the kids, was much better off. Like, both of us would say, this is so much better. And I didn't know to hold out for different. Like, that was kind of my first love. And I'd always been like, I'm never getting married. Not until I'm old, like 35.
I thought that too. I was like, I'm going to have my career. I'm going to dance. I'm going to dance with Janet Jackson and stuff.
Of course you are.
And that's what I'm going to do for years. And then when I'm like 30s, 40s, I'll get married.
Yeah.
And maybe have kids if I can still have kids.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. That was me too. But then when I fell in love at
and
age
I'm like, this is
19
it.
or 20,
Yeah.
because we were just friends for a while, and then we got back together. Once I started dating other people, then he was like, actually, we should be together. And I was like, but we broke up because it's not like we were going to get married and stuff. Like, and then he's
Let's
like,
get married.
And he's like, well, and I'm like, has that changed for you? And he's like, yes. And I was like,
I do this too. If a guy is like, whatever, we break up for whatever reason, and then I go off and whatever date somebody else, and he wants to date me again, and then it's like, but what has changed? And then
nothing's changed except they're jealous.
This has changed. I'm ready. I'm ready now. Now I'm ready. And then I'll be like, okay, well then I'll date them again. And then it's the same thing. I'm like, you're not ready. You're just jealous.
Yeah.
Like,
and to be fair to my first husband, 2 weeks before we got married, he was like, no, we shouldn't get married. I'm out. And I talked him back into it.
well, because
And I never should have. I was like, I love you unconditionally. Because he was basically saying, he's like, I'm too messed up. I got too many issues. I have no business getting married. And the thing is,
wow, what a healthy thing now.
Absolutely
But
right.
back then you would have been like, no, I can help you and take care of you.
Well, I'm just like, but I love you unconditionally. Why would, And again, so
I know your flaws.
He was right. And I talked him out of it. And I have to live with that, right?
But it's fair too, because you said 2 weeks before you got married?
2 weeks, yeah.
That's also could be cold feet. It could be a lot of things, right?
Who knows,
and you're
right?
like, well, we've already sent out everything. We've already planned everything. I already have this vision of my life. It's hard to change that 2 weeks before it happens.
And that's why when he did, when we did have this confrontation where I was like, I know what you've been up to. And he was like, confessed or whatever. And I never did tell him how I busted him. Like I just
Really?
No. I mean,
Does he know
knows
now? Okay.
Yeah, I think
Like
so.
he's gonna
if he's
find
listening
out.
to this.
Yeah.
No, he knows now. But then
You never told him, even after he told you he
well,
went on a
because
date.
I didn't know if I still needed those cards. Because it just got to the point where he said he'd went on this date, and I was like.
And did he said he wouldn't do it
basically,
again?
no. Basically, I said why? Like, and he basically, he just said, I knew you wouldn't. He said, I want to get divorced, and I knew you wouldn't take me seriously unless I cheated on you. And he was absolutely right. See, that's the thing. We know each other super well. Yeah. And he's like, you wouldn't have believed me. And he's right. That made me take him seriously. And so he said he wanted a divorce then, when we had that conversation. I'm like, holy shit. And then we just, like a couple days, we just don't, it's just like we had that conversation and then we just kind of left it.
Move on with your life.
And I'm just like, processing that, and he's probably processing that.
Because it's like all the same routines need to get done.
And I have all my girlfriends from theater school, they're all coming a few days later to come stay with me. We have this yearly get together and we're so close. We tell each other the truth about everything. So I get together with all these friends and everyone's like, how are you? And they're all dishing on their marriages and all this stuff because we all got married super young after we went to theater school.
Because you do, because you're so open.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Right? In theater, you're
vulnerable. Yeah.
And you do a play with somebody and kiss and you're like, I'm in love with you.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so they get, so they're there. Obviously, I don't say anything about how actually my life is falling apart. And then I want to say a couple days later or a couple days after the girls leave, something like that. It must have been before they arrived. But a couple days after this kind of confrontation, we're going into the house and he just kind of looks at me and says, hey, I'm sorry. I said that stuff. I didn't mean it. Like, he kind of is like, divorce off, you know. He said he wanted a divorce. A couple days later, he's like, I just was
divorce off. No, I'm just kidding.
divorce off. And I'm like, and then I'm reeling again because I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean? Okay, so you want to get divorced, but no, you don't. Like,
What has changed?
Again, I'm still processing. And then, a week later, something like that, we go to, the kids are at the nannies again and his parents. We went to my work stampede party for one of my clients. And on the way back from this late night stampede party, we're driving out to his parents. It's an hour-long drive from where we are. And on that, captive audience in the vehicle after stampede party, like you're at your best, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And again, he says, I want a divorce. And I really mean it. And I'm like, okay. And just as I'm about to launch into whatever, he's like, just don't say anything. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And he's like, you'll just talk me out of it. I know you'll talk me out of it. Just don't say anything. And so then I had to prove that I could
not say anything.
So, like, he knows me so well.
Yeah.
So I had to prove that I could not say anything. And so I, to prove a point, didn't talk him out of it. So I didn't talk him out of it. And I was just like, okay. Yeah. And then we got divorced. I didn't try and win him back. And the interesting thing is I felt so relieved.
Yeah.
I was so relieved. So like within 2 weeks of breaking up, I was just like,
to keep it together anymore.
Oh, yeah. I was so relieved. And so, a severe mercy, but one I'm very thankful for.
Yeah.
So much better for me.
Yes.
Right?
For everybody.
Very hard for the kids, but hard. And at that time you're like, oh, kids are resilient. They'll bend. And when, the kids are so young and people are like, oh, kids are so resilient. It's better that they're young. No, it wasn't. It was just really shitty for them. But we did our best to make it as good as possible. And we share custody and we've gone on ski trips together, which is hilarious because you have my ex-husband, our kids, my husband and I's daughter together, his daughter from his second marriage, and we all go skiing together. And so as you're dividing and conquering.
Like, is this a threesome? Is this a threesome with children?
Like one, except only one person's not getting any sex in this threesome, but at any rate. And so when you kind of divide and conquer and I'm going to go have a break and the two of them take the kids, they just look like one happy gay family, which is so sweet.
Beautiful.
They're just adorable. And John's always been working on his bromance with Roger. And we went and helped with a roundup, or Roger will have come for dinner with us or whatever, and Roger will send these really nice messages to John where he's just like, I just want to say that I appreciate you so much and I love the way you love the kid. Like, it really is great. Like, it really truly is great.
It's funny, Peter's partner, they have a kid together too.
Yeah.
And her and I get on great. Like, she comes to hockey, I'm like, how are you? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have us together very often.
Yeah.
He likes to separate and like have his life and that kind of thing. But we get on great. And
we're pretty integrated.
Yeah. That's what I always wanted, but it just got too messy and stuff.
Yeah. And I tried to do that for his second wife. They're not together anymore, but she found me, I think, quite intimidating because I so wasn't intimidated by her. I think I was just like, hey, how are you doing? And I, if the kids were upset with her, I'd be like, hey kids, she's doing her best. And,
she's like, stop being so nice to me.
Yeah. So that I think was hard for her because she wanted to be the triumphant whatever. And I'm like, you can have him. It's fine.
Enjoy. I didn't want him anymore. No, I'm kidding. That's part of it too. I'm like, why would I ever be threatened by this person? Because
I'm so not interested.
I don't want him. You can have him. Please take him and have fun and enjoy that. That's better for my kids. So you do improv. How long have you done improv?
I did about in high school drama, you do that kind of thing. Yeah. And then I went to theater school. I took a gap year where I didn't go to Europe, and then I went to theater school. And we did. They wanted to do this show that called A Mall in the Night Visitors, this short operetta, like a 45-minute operetta. And normally their Christmas show was always a 2-hour show. And so they needed something to put with it. So they decided to do a first act of Christmas improv and a second act of this operetta. And so what they did is they actually had an improv class as one of the theater classes. And so all the students, which is like 20 people, take that class. And then after a 6-week class, where you're doing that 5 days a week or whatever for a portion of the day, then they cast the show. They took 6 people from that group. And then because it's a professional theater and the structure of that meant that every play had 4 weeks of rehearsal, 4 weeks of 8 hours a day rehearsal.
Wow, doing improv for 8 hours a day for 4 weeks is a lot of energy. Yeah,
so we did other stuff too, but so basically we spent the first, so we already had 6 weeks, everybody together, and the instructor, he'd never taught improv before, but he's theater background. So we had Keith Johnstone's Impro, and he just went through the book, and we went through the book with him. And in the morning, we would do Julia Cameron's The Artist Way. So we did The Artist's Way in the morning.
Wow.
Then we did improv in the afternoon, and then we'd like watch It's a Wonderful Life over and over, and we just to get all our Christmas knowledge. So it was amazing. And we went on like secret camping trips where it's like, okay, show up at the Mercantile at 5 p.m. and bring a sleeping bag and a this and a this, and you're like, what? And so you have like an hour to pack your things. You get there and you get into like the school van, and we went and camped in an abandoned building, like on some farm.
Like safe.
Totally
this is safe.
super safe. It was a different time. Late 90s.
And but now you're with the Kinkanauts.
And so didn't do any theater for like 10 years after I graduated because I was burnt out. And then I was at U of C working on an English degree and saw the sign up for the U of C Improv Club. And I was like, oh, hey, I should do that again. And then the second time I went, Rick Hilton from the Improv Guild, he came and did a class and he just said, hey, do you want to join the Improv Guild? And I was like, yeah. And he said, auditions are in a week, but you don't have to audition. You can come to the audition if you want, but you're in. And I was like, because I after theater school, I didn't do theater because I didn't want to audition. I was like, that's it, I'm done. No auditions for me.
Auditioning's a lot.
It's a lot. And so and so he gave me this in without having to audition.
You're like, I have to take it.
And so I just went, And I had a huge slump because I went in and I was performing with like people we know in common that were all quite brilliant. And it was amazing to play with them. But I also had this huge slump where I just had like a year where nothing kind of worked. And I had really good advice from people there being like, you're in a slump, it's okay, just keep showing up, keep showing up. And so I went through this year-long slump and then came out of it. And then, and then eventually, like I was with the Improv Guild for many years. And then when that kind of dissolved, I started obviously improv with Laura. And then that kind of got amalgamated into the Kinkanauts, and then I became like the co-artistic director of the Kinkanauts, and then I became the artistic director of the Kinkanauts. And so like in that role, all told, like 6 years. And like it turns out it's this huge part of my life now.
Well, and you're a very important part of it for some improvisers like myself, for some of us.
My chance to get you in the door while I could.
Oh, I appreciate it.
For the record, you came along and I was like, let's just get her in. Your schedule didn't line up, but I was like, it doesn't matter.
We don't care about schedules. Well, because you could empathize with that too.
Having had shared custody, when it's like, oh, if you can't be here every week, and it's like,
thanks. So I can't do anything.
Anything ever, you know? Totally. You got to work around that stuff. When my friends were like, I had a friend from my kids' preschool, they got a divorce, and then she was doing week on, week off with her ex, and I was like, how does that even work? Before I even had on a radar that I would ever get divorced. And she's like, it's really hard. She's like, I actually want to start like a job share program where you work a week on and week off with another person who has a week on, week off, and you share the position, you share the role. Because that's the thing, is that when you have your kids week on, week off, the intensity with which you want to parent your kids that week. You want to be there. You want to be present. You don't want to get a babysitter one night because you got tickets to the hockey game. You don't want to perform that night. And that was a thing. There was a chunk of time where my ex had sort of insisted on a different schedule that meant I couldn't go to my Monday improv. I just couldn't. And so there was like 6 months where I didn't go to improv because I'm not giving up that time with my then very small children.
And I couldn't take any classes anymore. Like we used to have it where I had the kids, we did it based on my class schedule. So if I was taking a class on like Monday, Wednesday, he would have the kids those nights and then a day on the weekend or whatever. And then it was like he decided week on, week off is the way that people do it. I'm like, but that's not conducive to like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter. Go to the lawyer. The lawyer agrees. Oh, great. Thanks.
The
Thank
tough
you,
thing
men,
is
for deciding what my life should look like.
All the studies show.
Oh,
but it's
brutal.
But before then, because the kids were so young, we did like a much more, it was like 3 days and 4 days. It was like 3, 4, 4, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, you know, like, yeah. But
because they do need you more often than once a week,
but
or like
my
every
kids,
other week.
the feedback from my kids who are now like 19 and 17 is just that was too many transitions, and they did much better on, week off, because it's just a single.
You can settle in
once a week, and you can settle in.
I actually feel like it should almost be like, not that I don't want to see my kids for a month, but I almost feel like it should be month on, month off, because then it's like you've just got a flow for a bit, and then you transition, and they know it. Like it just seems.
Except that would be such a marathon. Like I also found like when the kids would leave after a week, I'm crying as they leave. But I also am like,
exhausted. My Mondays are the worst.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just need to sleep for the day. Can I get, like, because there's so much energy.
Well,
and then
later,
the Monday coming back.
We change on Wednesdays now because we found, are we still doing Wednesday changes? But Wednesdays worked much better because having the change be part of the weekend, either at the beginning or end of the weekend.
We do it Monday morning, so it's like school drop off, and then the other parent picks up at the end of school.
We did that for a while. That school was the exchange.
Transition, yeah.
And one of my kids had really bad separation anxiety, and that was one of the things we had to do. So we changed it so we always met in person. The transition was always from parent to parent, and it's not like that now because they're older and it's it's fine.
Yeah,
but
that's a good way to have a quick little catch up of what's going on too, which we miss because we just drop off the stuff and go.
What's brilliant now though is that my kids are, one's at university and one's in the last year of high school, but is up at SAIT in the mornings, and we just live blocks from there.
Yeah.
And so even when they're with their dad, they one of them will have their morning classes, then they'll come to my house, they'll have lunch, then I give them a ride to school, then they come back after school to wait till the other kid is done. So I'm seeing my kids every single day, which is like, people take that for granted. And it's like, I haven't seen my kids every day since they were 2 and 4. And to see your kids every day is amazing.
Yes.
And it was hard for them at first because it's like, why am I at mom's house? This feels weird. And I think it is still hard for my daughter. She's like,
my kids
she'll
do feel
get
that.
home and she just wants to go,
it's like, I'm not supposed to be, this is dad's time. Yeah. That's, my oldest is like that. But my other kids, like on Thursdays, my parents actually have the kids. And I have a bunny, like Kate's bunny. So every Thursday they actually come here, whether it's my week or not, and they help with change the bunny. So I get a little catch up. Yeah. And if I'm not working or in a show or something, then I will go to their hockey games or their soccer games. So I make sure that I can peek in and say hi to them.
That's so nice.
It is nice, but then there's like weeks where I can't, and I'm like, I'm so.
Yeah.
Up until recently, I've had the time to do that, but now because I am like creating my own work so much more, it's like I actually do have to do work. Like I actually
have to hustle.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, you also have a duo that you do for improv.
Yes,
this is my last question.
Yeah.
So what are your plans with this?
Oh, okay. So my friend Nicole and I have this great duo called All Request Heartache. And what her and I wanted to explore together more is just more dramatic improv. And so we both come from a theater background. She has like an MFA in directing.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I knew she was like played music and like she's a musician and stuff, but I didn't know.
Yeah, no, that's in more recent years. In the last 10 years, she's like, I'm going to teach myself how to play ukulele and guitar and all kinds of stuff. So that's kind of more recent. So her background, like she did proper theater school. She went to, did she go to McGill? At any rate, she went to an important school out east. And then she did her MFA, her Master's of Directing in Calgary, and then ended up staying in Calgary. And I come from a theater training background too. And so we do one-act plays that are like dramatic one-act plays.
Yeah.
But very relationship-based. And we started doing it, I don't know, 6-7 years ago. There's a festival we wanted to apply to. So we had to like put together a format to apply. So we were in the beer gardens at Folk Fest and made this plan. And it's just this idea that I'd had of just having a show where you're inspired by music. Yeah. Which sounds simple, and there's lots of shows like that. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be amazing to do a show based on like this certain violent femme song I like? And I was trying to think of how you could choose the songs, and then I was like, no, I have to let the audience choose. And so this idea of like an all request phone-in radio show. And it's like the audience requests the songs, and there's nothing better than when you can be like, especially in those young or early relationships, where you're like, I love this song, you've got to listen to it. And you can make someone sit down and listen to the song. You make them, they have to read the lyrics and they're doing the thing. And it's such a wonderful way to be seen, right?
Yeah.
And so we go to the audience and we ask for a song request to inspire this love story. And we get a song and we want to know why it's meaningful to them. Like, was it your song at your wedding? Is it a song that got you through a breakup? Did you dance to your crush, in grade 9 at the school dance, you and your crush danced?
I'm like now picturing all these songs that I have that mean those things.
Yeah. And so we get the song and we find out a bit from the audience member. And then we do this stolen from TJ and Dave, who are this amazing improv duo. But we hold hands and we're like holding hands and we look into each other's eyes. And the idea with that,
to the song.
Yeah, and we listen to the song, not the whole thing, because the audience get antsy, and the audience is even uncomfortable with just that much silence. So I'm always like, "It's okay, you'll be okay," kind of thing. And then we just look in each other's eyes, and it's that feedback. It's very Meisner. It's that feedback loop that whatever I see in your eyes is going to inform my emotions. How do I feel about you? How do I feel about you? And as you look at me, and then you might get a bit quizzical, and then I get a bit worried.
And you can feel when you're shutting down and when you're opening up.
So you do all that. And then we break away and we do the show. And we go back to the audience. We get 3 songs from them in total. And often it can be tearful, it can be whatever. And you kind of feel this tension building and people be on the edge of their seat. And then you throw in a joke.
Yeah.
Just like you do, like I do in real life.
Yeah.
When you're having a kind of tense conversation with your partner or like full-blown argument or whatever. And you throw in a bit of light relief. Or I do it anyway.
Yes, of course.
And your audience needs that little, or you say something you realize is ridiculous. And you say those things. And Nicole and I know each other so well, and we know each other's like relationship history so well that we can draw on all that. So when we're doing our shows, the stuff like I was just talking about, that comes into the show. Like we've done numerous shows where her and I know that we're talking about something that happened last week with her ex, with whom she shares children, right?
Yes.
And it's not obvious, but we're doing improv where there's no kangaroo bicycles. Like it's all very real. And people come away, they're like, I've had that argument. I've had that exact argument.
It's not therapeutic, but it is sometimes, it's like connects you.
I had a bad review once from an all request heartache show where someone did a Google review, or I can't remember how they reviewed, where they said that I should get therapy. Now, girl has a lot of therapy already.
Yeah, you are pro therapy.
I'm very pro therapy, but she thought that my performance was too real and it was too...
She didn't feel safe that you were being...
She was worried that I was letting it all hang out and that this was me, that was me.
Right.
So this audience member writing in...
But that's such a compliment as an actor and performer. You're like, oh my God, you really believed me.
You need therapy. Yeah. And especially because when we finish a scene, we kind of just go to the side and then we get another song and we carry on. And it was a scene where I'd actually cried. Like I'd actually cried in the scene. And so between scenes, I'm kind of wiping my tears and I come into the next scene. And one of her bits of feedback was like, in the next scene, she still was wiping the tears away. I mean, that shows that she's actually too affected by this. She needs therapy. Too affected. And it's like...
When in life are you too affected?
Well, and it's not like a film where you can cut and, I'm the same physical person
even in film,
on the stage.
You need a couple minutes to reset.
Yeah.
Like you need time to let that go.
Yeah, and you don't get that on stage because we're doing the thing. And so it's really funny because... As this feedback was shared with me, and it was like, they're like, hey, I don't think I need to worry about this too much, but just so you know, this was some feedback you got from an audience member. And so Nicole and I are looking at it, and it was like, you do know what theater is, right? Like this is pretend.
It was probably too much for them.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, this has been so much fun. I think we should go for coffee more often.
We should. And now we can do a show that refers to... it'll be like, how are you doing? How's your online dating going? And we'll have this rich layer.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Go back to Plenty of Fish.
Does it still exist? Maybe it does.
I don't know.
You could set up profiles and find out.
Oh my God. I love setting up profiles. It's probably my favorite part of online dating.
It's a dream right?
Brutal. Yeah.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. This has been so fun. And I knew it would be.
I know.
And
we'll do an 8-part series on my past relationships.
This is going to be amazing. We have a whole new podcast completely on Sarah. And thank you so much for watching and being here with us. And we look forward to seeing you next time. We, as in me and my guests. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Oh, lovely. Are you craving more deep, funny, and real conversations that make you feel like you're having a drink with one of your best friends? Check out Firecracker Department with Naomi Sneakus, available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube.